Taking a moment here to transition, slowly opening the eyes, looking to the right, looking to the left. Continuing to open the eyes, looking to the right, looking to the left, taking in the room around you, the sounds just inside this room and just outside this room.
In my second visit to India, took me aside and said to me, "Ramdas, love everybody." And I said, "I can't." My mind is full of judgment. He said, "Ramdas, love everybody and tell the truth." And those instructions have been my guide to my sadhana. And my sadhana has led to my soul. And souls love each other and tell the truth.
Ram Dass would be a fun transition. So I snuck that in there. Today I am going to be talking about emotions and how that fits in to my perspective and my practice as a Buddhist. It's true that when people talk about emotion in the Buddhist context, usually they're talking about something that creates a problem. But what's wrong with emotion anyway? An emotion is something that arises because we have a body, an incarnation, And in that realm, everything is a little bit imperfect. We can't get anything quite the way we want it to be, and emotion is the indicator of that. There's also the lizard brain level of emotions, a reflex. But having an emotion is different than having an emotional problem, which is usually caused by fighting with the emotion, not exploring or having curiosity about it. I long, as does every other human, to be at home wherever I find myself. As I prepared for the talk today, I went and searched for a good little Zen Buddhist parable on emotions. And maybe, Will, you can help me locate that. But after searching for a while, I couldn't quite find one. And then I did what, a writer might do, which I decided, oh, well, why don't I write my own story? And so today I'll be sharing my story, my journey with my relationship with emotions. Happy to be here with all of you today. My relationship with emotions started out like many children, screaming when I wasn't quite swaddled enough, grinning after a big poop, and giggling for no apparent reason. As I grew larger, I became more aware of my surroundings, and my relationship with emotions changed. I began to realize that a fit of tears could be a pretty effective manipulation tool to get something I wanted. And sometimes when I was genuinely expressing frustration, disappointment, or fear, I was taught to push the emotion aside. I heard things like, "You're okay, stop crying," or "Big girls don't cry." And as I struggled through my middle child woes, I developed a reputation in my family for being manipulative and overly expressive. "She always gets what she wants," my little brother would whine. "She's such a drama queen," my older sister would scream as she stomped down the stairs. And while these parts of my personality shaped, I became more and more disconnected from the natural expression and release of emotions that are an essential part of my humanness. If it's not clear, this is me. This picture is a picture that captures a story that is a Tucker family story that has been told over and over and over again. It was used frequently as an example of my big feelings. I was maybe 4 or 5 here. The family went out to cut down a Christmas tree, and I wandered off on my own and found a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. I went to find my dad. I was so excited. I found the perfect tree. And my dad had already started chopping down this tree that you see here, very large, big, beautiful tree. I begged with my dad, "Please, Dad, I can't leave this tree. It's all alone. It's so sad. I can feel its sadness." My dad laughed and told me there was no way we were getting a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And as the story goes, I cried and pouted for the rest of the day. "She thought the tree had feelings." My mom would roll her eyes every time she told the story. When young adults come to me and say, "I am so pissed off, I'm so angry," I help them turn their attention to the woundedness beneath the anger by asking, "Where are you hurting?" Where is there aching? Where is your woundedness? What is your anger trying to protect? As a teenager, I started to learn the skill of masking, numbing, and denying emotions. Everything is fine, I'd say to my parents through gritted teeth, in moments where everything wasn't fine, and I actually really needed their support. As I grew older, into my 20s, I didn't want to be labeled with big feelings anymore. I realized that people with big feelings weren't really respected in our culture. And I wanted to be respected. I saw that respect was a way to have power and control in the collective. I actually memorized books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. When someone asks how you're doing, always respond with great. Keep the conversation moving forward. That's how you stay in control. Into my 20s, I buried myself in work, partying, and personal and professional dramas to avoid facing my many emotions that were starting to pile up under the surface. And while all of these habits were forming, some useful rituals were also starting to emerge in my life. I started practicing yoga. I went to my first meditation retreat, and I started to lay a foundation for my spiritual practice. But even with these new tools, I was uninterested in my emotions, disconnected from my body, detached from nature, and I spent most of my time in my head figuring things out, rationalizing, worrying, and sometimes obsessing. According to the teachings of the Buddha, emotions are a fundamental part of who you are, an expression of our basic intelligence and creative energy. When you can connect with the essence of your emotions, you can respond without preconceptions and judgments. In my late 20s, my spiritual life became an even bigger focus. At the same time, I developed a new strategy for avoiding emotions, which was avoiding situations and people who triggered those emotions. As I did my first silent retreats, started a daily meditation practice, I began to get extremely familiar with the mind chatter, but I was still steering clear of my emotional body. And in fact, in some of the spiritual communities I was in, emotions were labeled bad or they were completely absent in the conversation. And while all of this was happening, my spiritual life was becoming more and more and more central, and I was starting to develop a daily practice. These annoying emotions would bubble up, sometimes in a really inappropriate moment, such as too many red lights on the way to a yoga class. Ah! I was almost constantly in suffering during this time period because I was clinging to this calm, emotionless, Zen-like world, and then having outbursts of emotion in my other world, and then feeling ashamed, and just continuing that cycle over and over and over again. You knew I was going to sneak some Pema in there somewhere. When people start to meditate or to work with any kind of spiritual discipline, they often think that somehow they're going to improve, which is sort of a subtle aggression against who they really are. But loving kindness toward ourselves doesn't mean getting rid of anything. Loving kindness means that we can still be crazy after all these years. We can still be angry after all these years. We can still be timid or jealous or full of feelings of unworthiness. The point is not to try to change ourselves. Meditation practice isn't about trying to throw ourselves away and become something better. It's about befriending who we are already. The ground of practice is you or me or whoever we are right now, just as we are. That's the ground. That's what we study. that's what we come to know with tremendous curiosity and interest. In my mid-30s, after a turbulent yet transformative romantic relationship, I began to prioritize my emotional well-being, in addition to my mental and physical well-being and my spiritual practices. In this process, I discovered new Buddhist and mindfulness teachers who were incorporating emotional wellness into their Dharma talks and practices. And in fact, I'm doing a training right now with Jack Cornfield and Tara Brach. And the second section that I landed on this week of all weeks is all dedicated to emotions as a part of a mindfulness practice. And this is training for teachers. So it's, I think, at least either I didn't know about it and maybe I wasn't quite ready for it, or it's shifting. I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts on that. What I'd like to do is share some of those practices. This is a combination of practices. Some of them are actually from Tara Brach, and some of them are from my conscious living training. But this is a process of, with emotions, sort of my practice in developing a relationship with them, being able to actually go through the wave of emotions by utilizing this technique. For anybody who knows DBT, the type of therapy that focuses on mindfulness, some of these practices are also a part of the DBT training. So we'll just begin with actually noticing, and with noticing, just taking a moment to do a little practice here together. So if everyone can just take a moment here to, again, close your eyes or go ahead and just look directly in front of you with the eyes just open slightly. Taking a moment to settle back in to this moment, becoming aware of where your body meets the ground or chair or surface below you. Just taking a moment here to scan the body without judgment or attachment. What we're looking for here is any sensation. The sensation might be tension or holding. The sensation might be tingling or just a feeling of heat. We're just looking for any sensations that might be making themselves known in the body. You're scanning the body and haven't found any sensations, you might focus in on the jaw, the chest, the lower belly. And then just taking a moment here to be with what is. Okay. I noticed a little holding in my lower belly. Okay. And as you have your awareness here on whatever that sensation is, see if anything arises, a feeling, not a story necessarily, but if a story comes to, okay, but just see if a feeling makes itself known. Oh, yes, I have a little holding in my belly. Mm. I'm a little nervous, a little scared. And then just take a moment to do a little sigh of relief, taking in an inhale. Feeling where your body meets the ground beneath you. Becoming aware of the sounds just inside this room and just outside the room. And when you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes, taking in your surroundings, and release the practice. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space is your power and your freedom. The next step, the curious pause, is sort of a combination of a number of tools. Um, the Hendricks at the conscious or Foundation for Conscious Living, many of these tools have come from them. Some of you might be familiar with a feeling wheel. I know they're now being used, especially with younger children, as well as veterans and in prisons, helping people to be able to have a language around their feelings. So let's start with that feeling wheel. For me, it's been useful to make a distinction when I feel a tightness in my jaw, and I might realize, oh, I'm noticing a tightness in my jaw. I'm feeling angry, and then I might think to myself, what flavor of anger am I feeling? Is it angry? Is that the right word? Or perhaps I'm just frustrated or annoyed, and allowing myself to sort of refine that through curiosity. Is the flavor of that feeling changing, or is it staying the same? So again, bringing a um, a curiosity to the feeling, as a way and as a tool for that pause, in between the moment in which I notice the feeling as some kind of sensation in my body, and then as an opportunity to pause to have a more skillful action, if an action is what is called for. Then locating in the body. So sadness is typically in the chest, although not always in the chest. But if we feel that heaviness in the chest, that is oftentimes sadness. Fear, butterflies in our stomach or holding in the stomach is, again, not always, but oftentimes. The back of the neck or the shoulders or the jaw having that kind of tightness is typically anger, but some people actually, their response to anger is in the hands. So again, this isn't always, but this is another tool for my curiosity to be able to have that curiosity with the emotion. And then joy, that what joy is, for me, I describe it as my body's lighting up, which is sort of what some people might say, oh, I'm getting the chills. Like you just said that and it gave me the chills. That is an indicator for me anyway, that I'm experiencing joy, that my body physically reacted to a moment or an experience or something that someone said. And then going into the wisdom of feelings. Again, this is another tool with that curiosity of what is the feeling trying to tell me? So anger as something that needs to be changed or destroyed so that something more beneficial can replace it. My book club buddies have been spending some time on the wisdom of anger that we've been reading about in our book. Fear, something important needs to be known. Sadness, something needs to be let go of, said goodbye to, or moved on from. And joy, something needs to be celebrated, appreciated, laughed at. So none of these are hard and true. There's lots of different feeling wheels. I will tell you that. There's a current debate within the community of what should be the core feelings. To me, these are all flexible tools that are really just about me bringing that kind of loving awareness to my feelings with a certain amount of curiosity. The gift of realizing the truth is that if we are resisting or grasping, we can't see the nature of reality. We can't realize who we are. The body lives in the present. When you are aware of the body, you can perceive the reality that is here. Oops. And then moving into expressing, I think I've talked with this group before about the nonviolent communication research that I was doing and have been incorporating for a couple of years. I hope not quite as mechanically now as I was when I first started out, but having an opportunity to use language as a way of expressing, but doing it in a skillful way. So before I started nonviolent communication, I would say, I'm feeling taken advantage of. And that now I recognize is a story. So I might say, I'm feeling frustrated and scared. And the story that I'm making up is that I'm being taken advantage of. And my request is that I'm heard on that. I don't always do it perfectly, but I use I'm feeling a lot more. I talk about the stories that I make up on a regular basis, and requests are something that I also incorporate. Journaling, this is another tool, non-dominant and dominant hands that some of you might be familiar with. It was very popular in the 70s and 80s of recovering your inner child. And then dancing, singing, acting, playing, of course, being tools that have been ancient rituals that we've used in the collective to express emotions in a safe and useful way. So again, just a recap of those, the four different, this is kind of the process, but it happens really quickly. Oh, I'm noticing some tightness in my jaw. I'm curious if that's anger. No, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated. It can be that simple for my process. And then some of my emotions are pretty packed in and have been with me for a while. So they require more inquiry and time. Vitally, the human race is dying. It is like a great uprooted tree with its roots in the air. We must plant ourselves again in the universe. To end my story, in the last few years, I have created more and more space for my emotions to be noticed, expressed, and released. I've become more connected with what's happening in my physical body. And as I've become more connected to my physical body, I've become more connected to the current state of the earth and all of the suffering that she is experiencing. Maybe all those years ago, as a little girl, I could actually feel the emotions of the trees. Maybe I just got the emotions wrong. Maybe Charlie Brown's tree's sadness was about the cutting down of his sisters and brothers. Maybe, maybe not. But may I live a life of listening sincerely to where all beings are hurting the most. And may that sincere listening begin with me. So this is little me expressing without so many rules. When the animals come to us asking for our help, will we know what they are saying? When the plants speak to us in their delicate, beautiful language, will we be able to answer them? When the planet herself sings to us in our dreams, will we be able to wake ourselves and act? And one more quote that I want to share from last night's anger ceremony, which I mentioned last week. I happened to be doing the day before this talk. One of the medicine sisters I was with was talking about her own practice and it evolving. She considers herself a Catholic priestess and was in Catholicism as far as she could go as a woman until a few years ago. And she said this of the role of emotions for her and her practice. When we repress our emotions, we become disembodied. And when we are disconnected from our bodies, we become zombie robots without purpose and capable of destroying Mother Earth. And her name is Erin Duffy. And with that, a few questions that our friends from, gosh, I can't think of the movie right now. Well, somebody remembers it. Are going to help guide us on. We'll do in our small groups. These are just a few questions. You're certainly welcome to speak about whatever resonates with you, but what is your relationship with emotions look like in different chapters of your life? What is an emotion you typically label as good? What's an emotion you typically label as bad? And what techniques do you use to ride the wave of emotions? So, Inside Out. Thank you, Rebecca. I was just blinking all of a sudden, and I love that movie. So